Derek Henry and the Tennessee Titans are starting their 2023 season going down to New Orleans and playing against Derek Carr and his new team and the New Orleans Saints. Ryan and I are going to break down the game and who we think is going to win. But before we do that, if you have not already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also ring the bell to get notified when new videos are created. Ryan and I, we are doing a prediction video for every single game, and we're going to be having a fun season-long competition. We will also be going live every Sunday night during the Sunday Night Football game, so tune in and recap all the day's action with us. Also, leave a comment on this video, and just let us know who you think is going to win this game. And Ryan, let's get into it here.
Let's do it.
This game, this is one of the more intriguing games, I think, because Week 1's obviously a statement game for every single team. You want to come out strong and hot for the season. But both these teams, I think, have had some questionable 2022s where everybody was questioning, should they do a rebuild, should they not do a rebuild? Both teams did not do that. They've started to slowly maybe prepare for the future. And I think this is going to be huge to see how each team kind of can come out and perform for their fan base, be like, hey, we have a chance this year. Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, living up in Nashville, especially too after they lost when they had home field advantage to the Bengals. It's just morale around Ryan Tannehill throughout the city was not good. To put it nicely.
Yeah.
Partially, I don't think it's all entirely his fault. I think the offensive coordinator, which I believe they did fire, was for some of the struggles ever since Arthur Smith left for Atlanta. And then with the Saints, they had been kind of, ever since Drew Brees, kind of patchworking their salary cap, somehow finding talent, and just being able to kind of compete in a not really too competitive NFC South outside of Tom Brady. But just slowly, just putting more money down, putting on the problem down, and kicking that down the road. I think this is going to be a breaking point season for both teams where it's going to be, if we don't do well this year, we're just going to blow it all up. I think it's Tannehill's and Derrick Henry's last chance to win a Super Bowl in Tennessee. I think New Orleans, they have some of the pieces with Derek Carr now signed for a long time, Chris Olave, one of the best receivers in the league, to build around those guys. But they have a weak offensive line, starting to get a weaker defense. Marshawn Lattimore is also getting a little bit up there in age, even though he's still one of the best secondary. And the matchup, to me, I think is going to come down to the trenches in this game. And Titans last year only gave up 1,300 rushing yards. They led the league in rushing defense. They did give up the most passing yards.
Yeah.
So that's a caveat. But then also with what they've done offensively with the offensive line, drafting Peter Skoronski, bringing over Andre Dillard, everyone knows the style of football that they want to play, which is like running through Derrick Henry. They bolstered up the trenches. They've bolstered up the offensive line, and they still have a very good defensive front in Tennessee. I think that's what's going to win this game. Yeah, the Saints have really struggled with that over the past couple of years as one of the weaker offensive lines. Last year, the defensive line didn't really show too much just prowess, so to say. If you go and look at the rushing yards that was allowed last year for the Saints, they were 9th worst, so that would put them at the 24th ranked rushing defense. So I think that's going to be it's going to play right into what Tennessee is going to want to do. Also now adding Hopkins as well to the team. I think we talked about this in their season preview, that it is going – I think if anything, if he's a decoy, he'll be glad about that, because that's just one less guy that's going to be able to tackle Derrick Henry in between the tackles.
Yeah. For me, it totally comes down to how improved this Tennessee Titans offensive line is. Just because if they can control this game, like you said, then I don't really see a chance for the Saints, especially with a lot of the – well, I don't say a lot of the new pieces on offense, but with the new piece at quarterback, I think there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve and adjustment for the Saints offense. So I think it's going to be lower scoring. That plays well in favor of the Tennessee Titans, in my opinion, just because they can control the clock and control the football with Derrick Henry. That efficient passing game, which hopefully is better with DeAndre Hopkins there and Ryan Tannehill back under center and fully healthy. And so it's going to be, to me, this is the closest matchup I think we've seen so far in week one. I know there might be other ones that we haven't quite gotten to yet, but
Yeah.
For me, these two teams, like you said, make or break season for both of them. I'm really curious to see how this plays out. And week one is a total crapshoot to begin with. But with that being said, I'm betting on the continuity in Tennessee over the adjustments made by the Saints this offseason.
Yeah. The one saving grace for me for the Saints, which I think can give them hope, I'm going to be leaning towards the Tennessee Titans. I had them winning this game. But it is the fact, though, that they gave up the most passing yards, and Derek Carr likes to sling it. Chris Olave is one of the best receivers in the league. I don't know how they match up with them. But you do add Jawan Johnson there as their tight end, another receiving option. Then Michael Thomas, if he is playing, I'm pretty sure he is. He normally does play week one. And then
I think it's hurt.
Yeah. And so but Tennessee did add Sean Murphy-Bunting at corner from Tampa Bay during the offseason. They did also add Azeez Al-Shaair from San Francisco as well. And so that's where I think that might help a little bit more in the passing game, but that is still a huge weakness of theirs. So, but Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry as well are there. They even added Arden Key as well in the offseason. Those are going to be the guys that they're going to be getting after the quarterback. And Mike Vrabel can just absolutely whip up a great defensive plan. And I think that's where I think the game's going to be won. And Tennessee has them dominated, in my opinion, in the trenches.
Yeah. I think we're both leaning towards Tennessee. Surprising because this one is really, really close, but I guess we're siding with Derrick Henry in that running game. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win this matchup in week one. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.